Hello and welcome to the Zwift Race Place. I'm Cade Fravel, and with me today is Chris Ovenden, one of the Veganuary race organizers. And today we're going to be walking through stage 5 of Veganuary. This is an individual time trial on the Casse Pattes course in France. So we've got a couple things lined up for the pre-show today. We're going to take a look at some results, some favorites on the day, and I think we might talk about the course a little as well. So I'm going to start by heading on over to our route Velo Viewer, and here you can see the Casse Pattes course it's mostly flat. We've got the Aqueduct KOM and the Petite KOM thrown in there though, and it is a loop, so same start and finish point. Chris, do you have anything to add about this course?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, it's not one of the usual TT courses that you find on Zwift. A lot of riders will be familiar with Tempus Fugit and with Bologna for doing their TT on. But this is one that they will have ridden in as a group, most likely, on the French course, and will have benefited from the draft on that long flat section at the beginning and the rollers that you get in there. Will have been doing sprints over the aqueduct. But this is a slightly different beast because they're really going to have to measure their effort. And time trial, as you know, is all about the pacing. So it's going to be a case of how far underneath threshold do I go for those first flat 20 odd kilometers, and then how hard do I push on the Petit KOM. And remember, because this is a time trial, everybody is automatically on time trial bikes. They can switch the bike to their time trial bike of choice, but I think if you look in the pen, you'll see a lot of people are on the standard Zwift TT bike. And what that means is there's no super tucking. So on that final descent back down towards the marina, they are going to have to keep pedaling there. So it's not home free once you're at the top of the Petit KOM. There's still all to play for and seconds to make up.
Yup, and just a quick note before we move on to our elevation profile. It is a mass start today, which means all riders will be going off as soon as the pens open. So, but drafting is not enabled. Obviously, drafting on a TT bike is impossible in Zwift, so there will be no drafting. But all the riders will go off at the same time, mass start style, which will make it a little easier for us to follow in the stream as well, because we can easily see who's off the front and who's pushing the fastest times. And then Chris is going to try and get a split for us at the 10K mark, and then again at the base of the climb. So good luck to him on that. So we're going to switch over to our elevation profile now, and you can see the major points out on course. There are no intermediates available for today's race, as it is an individual time trial. But you can see we've got the Pave Sprint, Aqueduct KOM reverse, and then the Petite KOM, and that's one that's really going to be the deciding factor out there today. Because riders, it will really come down to the race kind of in two parts, and that first part will be the largely flat, almost first 3/4 of the course, and then the second section is, of course, the ascent of that KOM, and then the descent as well, which will be interesting, because heavier riders will be able to make up some time there. And then we finish where we started back at the Marina Sprint reverse. Do you have anything to add to that, Chris?
Yeah, just that the Petit KOM, obviously in time trial, it's just you and the clock, that's it. So there isn't really any drafting to be had. There's no benefit to be gained there. And as outside in the real world, in a time trial, you gain the most benefit pushing where it's hardest. So that Petit KOM, if you look at it on the Velo Viewer, it's not all just one gradient all the way up. Actually, it's steep and it's shallower in different parts. So it's going to be interesting to see the strategies people employ there, how much they limit the effort on the flat and on those weaker bits, and then really hit it as hard as possible on the harder parts, and just how different their power meters go on those different sections. So that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing, is what we see in here in terms of the power. I know you said it's a mass start, so everybody can see each other, and I wonder how much that's going to play into the way that the strategies people may have come up with at the beginning end up going out the window as soon as it starts, because they may see their nearest GC rival shoot off up the road pushing a huge power, and then there's a real decision to make. Do I stick to my game plan, or do I chase after them and try to make up the ground and hope that I've got something for that hill at the end?
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and I think everything you said will definitely come into play, and we'll get to see all of these dynamics play out in just about 9 minutes here. But I also want to make a note. I was following Howell Davies in the pens, and it seems like he is no longer on Zwift. He had problems with dropouts last week, and I'm just wondering if he's having similar problems again, as he is our GC leader in the A category. So I do hope that Howell's Wi-Fi is working well for him. But let's switch over to some of our favorites today, and we're also going to take a look at results, but we'll take a look at the mixed favorites first. I think it says men's favorites here, actually, and it is all men this week. But last week we had Evelyn Bunnick as our C favorite, so it was mixed favorites last week. And in the A spot, we've got Hubble Davies, the rider I was just talking about, who I'm afraid may have had a dropout. I'm not sure about that. And then for the B race, Evan Flater from Team OTR, and we're actually going to get a chance to talk with him. He's going to hop on the stream with us after the race today. He's a strong rider, kind of an all-arounder. 73 kilograms, I think that might be the ideal weight for riders on this course. They need to be able to climb, but also time trial well, so I think he's classified here as a sprinter, but he can definitely do an all-rounder effort. And then for our C favorite, Patrick Harvey from the BRT squad. All the BRT riders in our C race do really well in this series, and I actually got the privilege of riding with them in the ZRL EMEA West division just this Tuesday, and these guys are really fast. I know Patrick can push some great watts on the flats, and I saw him keeping up all right on the climb as well, the Innsbruck KOM. Even though he is at 95 kilograms, I think he's still got a shot on that climb, the Petit KOM. And then finally, in our D race, Jimbo Vin from TFC. This guy's just a powerhouse, and I think he'll make up enough time on the flats where our lighter riders, the SDW Youth Squad, will not be able to catch him. Chris, anything to add to these favorites?
No, I completely agree with the assessment there. Just picking up on Jimbo, you notice 258 watts for his FTP. That's higher than my FTP, and I'm a B rider. I mean, obviously, he's a bit heavier than I am, I think, and so that works out to a watts per kilo that's a bit lower. But yeah, on the flats, that high wattage that he's just going to be able to sustain is going to give him a real advantage over the much lighter riders, especially from the SDW youth team. But, you know, Zwift is a platform where lighter riders, heavier riders, men, women, younger riders can all compete together. And because there is a big emphasis on watts per kilo, we may see those SDW youth squad members still doing pretty well on the flat section and then putting in a real effort on the KOM and perhaps bringing things back. Just to add as well, I have managed to drop in with Howell Davies. He is back in the race. Maybe he just popped off and was having a quick tour of another route in Watopia, but he's certainly in the pens now, ready to go.
That is great, and I see Howell popping back up here on my screen as well. So that is all good. And Nikola Martinoli, one of the riders we talked to after last week's race, says Patrick always a rocket in every route he will rock today, and I agree with that, and that's why I put him in as my C favorite. So let's switch on over to the women's favorites now. Alice Lethbridge obviously is our A favorite, as she's the only female rider racing, I believe. Then in the B's, Jane Geddes, once again, one of our only female riders racing, and she's at the top of a lot of competitions. I think she might have won both the green jersey and polka dot jersey already. In the C's, Evelyn Bunnick, we've seen her up towards the top of the men's GC as well. A really strong rider from the Vegan Crocodiles here, and she is lighter than a lot of the men, so I think she might have a little bit of a harder time competing against the men in this one, but definitely our favorite in the women's race. And then finally, Ladine Unser from WTRL is our D favorite. With an FTP of 150, I think, once again, she might struggle to keep up with the men on the flats, but she's definitely a strong rider, can get over that KOM quite fast, and I think she's got it locked up in the D race. So those are our women's favorites, and I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to go over to our results real quick, and I have all of our team results up. We also have some GC things to talk about real quick, and it's only 4 minutes to the start of the men's A race. So I just want to get through these results quickly. So first up, the Cat A Team GC results. You can see it's pretty close here. Only 45 seconds dividing first and second place. That is No Pins R3R and the R3R Dev Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then over in the individual GC, we've got Hubble Davies leading out the individual GC. We've already talked about that a little. And then only a 6-second gap to Zach Harner from the No Pins R3R squad. We saw a lot of enthusiasm for him in the chat last week. And then it's 2 minutes and 19 seconds back to Audie Vale from the FCR squad in third. But I think there's a good race going on for a third place podium spot there, Chris. You want to fill us in on that?
I mean, only, what must it be, less than 30 seconds between Anthony Vale, Robert McEwen and Nick Hurd, all really strong riders, all performed fantastically throughout this series. I mean, quick shout out to Tim Elskins there in sixth, of course, but I think that bronze place position is just in Nick Hurd's grasp. It depends what he can put out on this course. Can he drag back those, 29 seconds, something like that on Anthony Vale? I can't wait to see how he manages this and how he manages his effort over this effort. And it's just going to be interesting again to see whether he goes off quite hard to try to draw that back initially and then perhaps put a bit of fear into Anthony Vale, make him wonder about his strategy and then really have something left to push up the hill.
Yep. And I'm going to switch over to our B results table here. And I apologize, it's a little hard to see this one. I was just kind of in a rush when I was making this. But you can see here, the gaps are fairly large. It's over a minute and a half to second place. That's the race between Race 3R and On the Rivet. But then a very close race within 20 seconds there for second place with On the Rivet and LEQP. I think that's the L'Equipe Province team. So a nice race for second there, and there's a chance that somebody could close to first, but I don't see it happening. And then for the men's individual GC, we've got a really tight race here with Ross Hetherington leading out from Race 3R, but then in second place, Derek McIntyre from the Vegan Barracudas is only 24 seconds behind, easily closable on an ITT like this. And then finally, Alan Hugel from Race 3R, only 8 seconds behind second place and 32 seconds behind the leader. So we could see a mix-up in the individual GC here in the Cat B men's. And then over in the Cat B women's, Jane Geddes has got it locked up for the Vegan Badgers. All right, we're a minute and a half out from the start, so I think we can just try and get through our C and D here. Chris, you want to give us the breakdown on the individual GC in the C race, as looks like the team standings are pretty much locked up?
Yeah, so, I mean, the individual, we've got Patch Harvey in first with Jason Feltus a minute behind and then Jamie Watson 2 minutes behind Patch. So it's going to be hard for that to change around. And then I should say fourth place is 3 minutes behind Patch. So we've actually got a 1, 2, 3 minute gap to each of those persons. I think it'll be difficult to bring that back because Patch has been so strong, but everything's to play for here. There really is. And the right strategy on the day, as compared to somebody who perhaps gets it a little bit wrong, could make a huge difference. They're going to be out there on, 23 kilometers. So we're looking at, maybe upwards of 35, maybe up to 40 minutes. For these C riders, it could be 45, 50 minutes. So 1 minute to make up over there is easily doable. And everything's to play for. Patch is going to have to work hard to keep that gap.
All right. And then 30 seconds out, going to go over to our Cat D results real quick. I missed the Cat C women's. Evelyn Bunnick is leading out that category by over 4 minutes. So she's got that one locked up. But it's another 5 minutes from second, Chantal Bouchard to Morgan Bennett. Those are Vegan Crocodiles and Vegan Coconut Riders, I believe. So I think that series is pretty much decided. All right, we are 3 seconds out from the start of the A race, so I'm going to have to switch over now. But can just give you a quick update on the D race as we hit the start of our A race. In the D race, Jimbo Vin leading that one by 4 minutes and 53 seconds to Ladine Unser. But it is a really tight race for second place, with Ladine Unser and Nathan Tully only separated by 6 seconds. That one really could change today. And then finally, the Cat D women's, Ladine Unser leading by 7 minutes 50 seconds, and then 22 minutes and 54 to third place Naomi Bright. So Ladine Unser, Dorothy Gibson, and Naomi Bright, assuming they're all racing today, I'd say that's pretty much our decided podium in the D race. All right, turning our attention over to the A race that's on now. We're watching Howell Davies, but he is not at the front of the pack yet, and this will be all about pacing, watching the other riders around you, seeing how hard they go out, who's going to burn out, who's going to be able to sustain till the end. And I have gotten confirmation from Chris Smart, aka GTR Gringo, in the chat that none of the No Pins R3R riders will be able to ride today, so I'm assuming that includes Zach Harner, Hubble's main competition. But Howell Davies moving up through the field here. He's sitting in 14th overall, passing out Tim Elskins here from the SBSD squad. I'll turn it over to you, Chris.
Yeah, well, obviously we saw there, a couple of riders really shooting off the front. We can see Alex Rockwell, Jay Chidley, A Valve right in front. B Noakik, he's a vegan rider, obviously going off quite hard. It's always a difficulty with these kind of TTs where there isn't the rolling start that you get on Tempus Fugit or Bologna to decide how hard you're going to hit it. Are you going to do a little sprint effort to get your speed up? Of course, that's going to help you in terms of your time initially, but you don't want to burn through those anaerobic resources too early. And I think that what Hull's done is just gone out at exactly the pace that he wants to hit. We heard him say last week when he was on the stream that, TT is his kind of thing, ITT. He knows what sort of power he can do. And you can see just watching his power, he's just bobbing around 350, occasionally sort of not nipping up to 380, just touch 400 there, but definitely around that 350 mark. So he's obviously got a plan in mind. And I don't think we're going to see these riders get too far away. We've got Casse Pattes is actually leading it out at the moment, currently pushing out 5.6 watts a kilo. I wonder if he's going to be able to keep that up. And then McEwen just behind him. And we did see that McEwen wasn't too far. I mean, he's 2 minutes 30 off the lead, perhaps thinking, look, I'm just going to go all out here and I'm going to see what I can do. Of course, with Zach Harner not in the race, that means he's not going to count in the overall GC standings for the whole series. So he's going to be out. So that means there's a huge vacuum now for Atney Vale, Robert McEwen and Nick Hurd to fill in that second and third position. So everything to play for them. And it's really interesting to see. I can see Nick Hurd is currently riding in third place, just behind Robert McEwen. And they've now got what looks like a 2-second gap on Hal Davies. So let's see how that progresses.
Just trying to get a nice view of the field all spread out here, looking at Psychopath leading it out from the front. And you can see Robert McEwen just behind him, chasing him down. I think we're going to switch over to the B category, though, here in just a minute. I don't know if you saw their start, Chris. I know you were in the B pens.
I didn't see this. No, I was watching Howell with you as well. But I've just switched over now to our leader, Ross Hetherington, who, again, he's obviously gone out. A lot of the leaders going out with a similar strategy. They're going to take it a bit steadier and try to keep it a level effort. He's currently pushing 240 watts, a very steady 240, 250 watts on the beginning of this course, riding in 13th place. And let's see where some of the competition is, because obviously it's Derek McIntyre who is his nearest competition. And it looks like he's got just 2 seconds on him, actually. It's not a huge gap. And he also has obviously gone up pretty steady, but he is leading the GC race in terms of where the riders are. He's currently in 6th place. He's got 25 seconds to make up over this course. So let's see whether he can do that. He's now just pulling out just to about 3 seconds. So obviously going for an early, strong start, try and bridge that gap out, and then really hit it on the hill and keep things steady.
Yep.
I mean, it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. We're within 2.3 kilometers, and there's already a 3-second gap there.
Yeah, and we had a lot of riders send us in some talking points, just a little bit of personal trivia about them. So I've got Ross's up here, and it sounds like his first ever Zwift race wasn't until October 7th, 2016. So he's what you'd call a Zwift veteran, I think. 2016, that's about 5 years on Zwift now, 4.5, which is a pretty good time to learn the ropes. And he did come in last, so he's progressed quite a ways since then. He was invited to join WBR, as it used to be called, earlier on in his career, and now it looks like he's sporting the Race 3R jersey. So WBR was the former name of that team. And he says he's been racing on Zwift ever since, tending to build up each year over the autumn, peak in the spring, and then spend the summer outside doing longer, less intense group rides. And his prediction for the GC is Alan Hugel from Race 3R, and I'm just going over it to take a look at that now. Looks like Hugel's sitting in third to Ross right now, with 32 seconds off of Ross Hetherington. So, I don't know. Do you see Alan Hugel up here on the leaderboard, Chris?
In terms of the leaderboard that we've got, Alan is 33 seconds behind. But you mean in the actual race? Sorry, I was just checking in on Hull Davies to see where the A race was going.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, I meant in the race. I can find him right now, and we'll see where Alan Hugel is, because that's Ross Hetherington's pick for the win today. Chris, are you in the B pens right now, or in the B race?
I'm just trying to switch back over to it.
Oh, okay. I see Carell Smeets from Team Vegan, as well as Daryl McIntyre. McIntyre currently sitting, checking my notes here, Derek McIntyre is currently sitting in second place, only 24 seconds off of Ross Hetherington, and he's already got a second on him. So if he can keep up a nice pace, Derek McIntyre could be taking over the GC today. It's really might be blown wide open in this B race. You just don't know what's going to happen because it is so close in those top 3 podium spots.
I don't actually see Alan Hugel in the race. Now, I wonder if, because I can see he is Zwifting, and he's done 4.2 kilometres. What we did for this final stage was to make it a private event so we could follow it a bit more closely. You notice that only the riders who are actually in the GC competition are currently riding. Maybe he's entered into the parallel event that is running with non-signed up riders. His time will still count. We'll be able to retrieve it from there, but it does mean he can't see his competition. He can't see where Ross Hetherington is and where Derek McIntyre are, and he can't therefore work out how hard he needs to push. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if we can drop in at some point just on Zwift Power to see if he's in that race and how he's doing.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can pull that up right now. But in the meantime, I think looks like Ross Hetherington has caught Carell Smeets from Team Vegan here. And as these two are really close rivals in the GC, it'll be interesting to see. I think this might go from being an individual time trial to these two riders just trying to keep tabs on each other and figure out where they can make their moves. Because 23 seconds is not that much when it comes down to an individual time trial like this. You're racing against the clock. But Ross Hetherington, I think this is where he wants to be, ahead of Carell Smeets here. He's got the little bit of wiggle room to work with. So as long as he can stay within 23 seconds.
Well, of course, it's Derek McIntyre that he's it's Derek, and Derek's just ahead of him now. So that gap that we saw, the 3-second gap, maybe Ross was listening and he thought, hey, I'm not gonna let them talk about this 3-second gap. I'm going to drag that right back. And he is now right on the backside of Derek McIntyre. And it looks like we're pushing out 4.6 watts a kilo compared to Derek McIntyre's 4.2 that he's doing. Ross definitely got a slightly bigger engine, and I think we're going to see him take the lead here very shortly.
All right, I'm going to try and jump back into our C race now with Evelyn Bunnick. But in the meantime, I'm just pulling up Zwift Power Live from the other vegan tofu tornado competition to see if I can spot Hugel in there. I think I'm gonna jump in with Evelyn Bunnick. She's one of our top female racers in the C category, and it looks like she's doing pretty well, sitting around the middle of the pack here. I don't have a number for it yet. Still waiting, but if you look at the mini map, the pack looks pretty strung out. See if we can even get an overhead view of this real quick. You can see the pack is quite strung out here, and if I switching around in the trees here, it looks like she's riding with a couple of other riders here, sitting on the wheels of C. Kristic from the BRT Badgers, and I think that might be one of our other female racers in the competition, although I might be wrong about that. And I see Nikola Martinoli. We talked to him after last week's race, and this was one of the races that he was looking forward to. He said this stage would suit him, and he's doing quite well. Looks like he's sitting in 22nd place overall. So shout out to Nikola Martinoli, great job. Chris, are you farther towards the front of the C race right now?
Yeah, so I've just dropped in with Patch Harvey, who's currently riding in sixth place, no, just seventh place actually, just behind one of his teammates. And then looking at the standings, obviously he's got a 1 minute advantage over Jason Feltus in the overall GC. And actually, Jason Feltus currently ninth place, just behind him. It looks like he's strung out about a 6 second gap over these first 5.5 kilometers. So at the moment, Patch definitely widening that lead that he has. And in fact, the rider he's just passed, Patch Harvey, is Jason Watson. So it looks like, sorry, Jamie Watson, I do apologize. He's actually running in third. So Jamie Watson may be clawing back some of his own time on Jason Feltus and hopefully trying to make it a 1-2 for the Bolt Racing team.
And I just wanted to let you know, I pulled up Zwift Power here just to search around for Hugel, over in the other race. That's Alan Hugel, and it does not look like he's racing in the other Tofu Tornado race. So I don't know what that means for Alan Hugel. I guess he might be DQ'd from the GC after this if he really isn't racing in the B race.
We'll have to look at taking part in all 5 races, and unfortunately won't get a serious GC time, but obviously those other points he accumulated will still stand because they only ran for the first 4 races.
Yeah, and I'm not sure of his standings in the other competitions, but it would be a real shame if he's not racing in the B race, and neither of us saw him, but he still could be there. Doesn't mean that he's not. Maybe he had a technical issues farther towards the back of the pack, because as long as he finishes, hopefully he won't lose too much time. But I think we're going to switch back to our D race now. We've spent a little bit of time in every category except for that one, and I'm not sure where our A racers are on course right now, but it'll be interesting to jump back to them after our D race here. And I'm going to jump in with Jimbo Vin because I think he will be the rider leading out this team time trial in the D category, and I could be wrong, but he's definitely a strong rider. And looking here, Ollie Fussel's leading on Jimbo Vin by 16 seconds. So it turns out that these SDW youth riders still had a little left. Henry Bottoms leading Jimbo by 2 seconds, and Nathan Tully sitting right on his wheel. So it will be a fierce race as ever in this D category between the SDW youth riders and Jimbo, our TFC racer here. I also see another rider from Team Vegan in this pack, somewhere in between Ollie Fussell and Jimbo, and that looks like T. Copens from Team Vegan. Only 5 seconds off the lead, and our leader right now is Hayton. I think that is Adam Hayton. I might be incorrect about that, but he's also up there in the GC as well. So this will be an interesting race over in our D category. Anything to add?
No, sorry, I've just gone over to the front of the A race to just check out what's going on there. And I can just say, just gone through the 10-kilometer mark. It's actually being led out at the moment by Robert McEwen, who's done 12:36 for that first 10K. Howell Davis coming in just behind him at 12:46, and then Alex Rockwell 12:58. I'm just trying to get some of the other times so that hopefully we can have a bit of a virtual GC to see how things are going there.
Yep. So if they pass through the 10K mark, are they right around? I mean, they should be about halfway to the start of that Petty KOM, right?
Yeah, that's right. They're about halfway there. Still a lot of the flat and rolling part of the course to go. So we'll have to see how that affects things. Obviously, we've not got Zach Harner now, so I'm going to take him out of my virtual GC standing. But we do have Atney Valve and Robert McEwen, and I think that we may see a bit of a change there between Robert McEwen and Atney Valve. I'll just have to do some slight calculation and see where we get to.
I'm just moving on to our next shout out here. I'm in with Sam Brooker of the TT1 Hypers here. He's racing in our D race, sitting 15th overall, so he's about a minute off the leaders. But he's been cycling on Zwift since May 2020, so definitely more new to Zwift than some of our other riders here, and didn't start racing until October of 2020. So I know a lot of riders got into racing on Zwift with the pandemic. He was in a car accident in 2012, which resulted in a spinal injury, And so until May of 2020, he couldn't ride a bike. So big shout out to Sam Brooker for getting back on the bike. He's doing really well right now, sitting in 17th place. So great job to Sam Brooker. And it looks like he has not been doing Veganuary, but he's been trying to eat more vegan food. So just a shout out to Sam Brooker there. And I think we're going to head back up with our A race now. Chris was just giving us an update about the latest split there at the 10 kilometers mark. And they should be approaching the Aqueduct KOM pretty soon, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to jump in with Howell Davies, our GC leader there.
And what we saw there with just going through the 10K, it was actually, it looks like if I just arranged the splits to see who went through fastest. So it's Robert McEwen who went through fastest, about 10 seconds ahead of Howell Davies. And then it was another 10 or 12 seconds back to Alex Rockwell, and then Atney Valve at 13:08. And I think that's all we had for that particular. Those are all the ones I could grab. They were going through quite rapidly there. But what that means is that at the top of the competition, obviously without Zach Kana there, we've got now Howell Davies leading things out. And then just a small, well, it's a bit of a gap to Robert McEwen, but that gap between Robert McEwen and Atney Vale looks like it might be widening slightly.
John Hetherington in the chat says, nice tactics so far, Ross Hetherington. So I'm assuming that's a relation of Ross Hetherington. So anything you have to tell us about Ross Hetherington's strategy going into this race, feel free to leave that in the chat. But yeah, we're back with the A race, and as you said, Chris, it's Robert McEwen and Adam C. Psychopath up front. And it looks like McEwen is just pulling away from Psychopath here. I can try and go up with these two riders. It looks like about a 3-second gap now as they hit the Aqueduct. And so these two will be our lead riders heading into the Aqueduct here. Sorry about that. Looks like we just had a little glitch in the stream. But 3 seconds here. So I'm wondering what Robert McEwen is going to look like, how his form is going to be when we hit the Petit KOM. Because it'll be interesting to see if he's prepared to go all out all race, or if he's just trying to get a little bit of a buffer here on riders like Howell Davies before the KOM, and then maybe try and fade climb up that Petit KOM, because I have a feeling that for some of our heavier riders, that might be a good strategy. And I don't know Robert McEwen's weight, but I think going out hard in the beginning might be a good strategy for riders who are a little bit worried about how they're going to perform on the KOM. Just like as a lighter rider, I know I'd target going as hard as I could on the KOM because that's where I'm going to be able to make up ground. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we hit the KOM, but the gap from Robert McEwen to Howell Davies is now 20 seconds and 8 seconds to Adam C., Psychopath from Team Vegan. So we'll just have to watch and see how this A race plays out. And I think, Chris, you're going to give us another split at the base of the Petit KOM?
Yeah, if I can do, I'll do my best to try and catch as many of the riders at the base of the Petit. I'll see if I can switch back over. I presume they're getting quite close to there now, and see what that's done to the way the race is developing. Yep.
Yeah, I'm in with them right now, and Robert McEwen has just come off the Aqueduct. Here he's a little ways past it, and he's heading on towards that Petit KOM. And just a note on the Aqueduct, some of you may know I'm in the Rhino Racing Squad, and one of our riders actually lives right near that Aqueduct. He sent us a picture of him at the IRL Aqueduct very recently. Looks like we're having a little bit of an issue here with the live stream, so I'm going to see what I can do about that. Chris, you want to take over for a minute?
Yeah, no problem. I'm just actually watching Robert McEwen here. Obviously, you can see, look at that RPM, 107 he's up to. Obviously, one of these riders who feels like a nice high RPM is the most efficient way for him to push these watts. And look at the watts he's pushing. We're doing 5.7 at the moment at 400 watts. That is incredibly high. Certainly for me as a B rider, where I would be hoping to maybe push that for about a minute up a tough climb, steadily approaching the Petit KOM. Interestingly, Psychopath was leading this out, but now 11 seconds behind Robert McEwen, who is obviously doing an absolute mammoth effort here. Hull Davies behind there, another 12 seconds behind Psychopath. Now, of course, he had initially what looks like a 2-minute 31 gap there, so perhaps he's not too worried about Robert McEwen stretching out in front of him. And then we've got Alex Rockwell, who was in 6th place, is 13 seconds behind Hull Davies. Now, his gap to Hull was 4:16, so again, he's not going to be much of a threat. Nick Hurd, though, is losing time by the looks of things on Robert McEwen. And let's see where we can find Atney Valve. So he is currently down in 11th place, and it looks like he may well be over a minute off of Robert McEwen. Now, they were only separated by 10 seconds, so this could be a big upset in the race for second place. And I think we are going to see Robert McEwen jump into that silver medal position from now on. And it'll be interesting to see. Nick Hurd is 2:45 from Hull Davies. So the gap to him and Atney Valve was only about 25 seconds, 26 seconds. So again, we could see a big shake up there. He has currently got 20 seconds on Atney. So let's see how we go from here and whether Nick Hurd can steal that bronze medal position from Atney Valve.
Yeah, and we see, I'll jump in with Nick Hurd right now, actually. And good news, we got the stream. It's working again. Just a little bit of an issue. I'm not sure if it was just on my end or if that was for everybody, but here we are with Nick Hurd from the Cryo RDT squad, and it looks like he's pushing around a steady 4.5 watts per kilograms. Audie Vowell 21 seconds behind him, as you said, Chris, and it looks like Nick Hurd elected to choose his own bike here, and he's got a Cervelo there and some disc rims, so definitely a fast setup. And bike choice does make a difference in a time trial like this, just because you really are racing the clock and every second counts. So interesting to see what riders go for in terms of bike choice. I also see Oliver Milk here from the BRT. He's only about 5 meters behind Nick Hurd. Milk is another strong rider here, and I don't have my spreadsheet pulled up here, but I know he's doing pretty well in the GC as well, I think. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make up some time on Audie Valve as well, although I don't think he'll be passing him out today.
So Robert McEwen is now just approaching the beginning, as in the little banner. I'm going to go from the start of the KOM. Again, just tapping out an incredible rhythm here. Now got 26 seconds on Hull Davies, 43 on Alex Rockwell. Again, close competition for him. And Atney Valve is 1 minute 15 behind. So he is definitely jumped into the silver medal position for the GC. And obviously, I'm going to take it from this corner here at the base of the Petit KOM. So that was 23:13 that he's managed to get there in.
Yep, I'm in with Robert McEwen as well here. And it looks like John Hetherington is Ross Hetherington's younger, and he says, and faster brother. So,
sibling rivalry, that's what we want.
Yep. But back to the race with Robert McEwen here. It looks like he's keeping up his pace. I was thinking he might slow down here a little on the KOM, but he's up to around 6 watts per kilograms, which is a good pace to push throughout this entire KOM in this A category here. And it looks like Psychopath is not quite matching the numbers. I guess he's coming up here in numbers, but the gap remaining at 17 seconds to Psychopath and 23 to Hull Davies. So it's a really great performance from Robert McEwen here, and I think he's a great rider, but we haven't really mentioned him much. He's been flying under the radar a little, so he's really shining here in this time trial, and I think he's got a good shot at winning it. The gap going out another second back to Psychopath. So, Chris, I know the Petit KOM definitely not the longest KOM on Zwift, but it's still a decent sized and a decent average gradient as well. What do you think the toughest parts of this will be for riders when trying to maintain their speed here?
I think the toughest part is just going to be getting the pacing right. The petty, when it turns to the right, it's actually a bit shallower, and then it turns back left and it gets steeper. So you want to be working harder on that steeper section than you are on the slightly more shallow section. And it's just very difficult to work out exactly how to get that perfect.
Yep. I know, especially in a time trial when the gradient's changing like that, it can be harder to hold a steady watts per kilograms. So riders might be struggling a little with that, but it looks like Robert McEwen making great work of this, and I think Howell Davies has just caught Psychopath farther down on the road and closing the gap to Robert McEwen now as well, pushing over 7 watts per kilogram for Howell Davies here, and the gap's coming down just a little bit. So it looks like we're going to see some competition here, and John Hetherington says, to clarify, I am the older and slower brother. So sounds like he meant Ross was his younger and faster brother.
Thanks for the clarity there.
Yep. So it looks like Robert McEwen's about to come over the top here, not too far from the top, but Howell Davies making good work of this. He's down to a 16-second gap now. Do you think we'll see a catch later on, Chris?
I can tell you, I've just done all of the splits, and so far as we can see, Hull Davies is still in the gold medal position, but his lead has been narrowed down to 2:06 to Robert McEwen. Robert McEwen storming ahead to a lead over Atney Valve of over a minute, but then between Atney Valve and Nick Hurd, it's now only 2 seconds between the two of them. So this could be a big upset. Atney Valve, who's been consistently at the top of the GC standings, could be getting knocked down into 4th place, and that would be a real heartbreak. 4th place is the worst place to come in any competition because you're just missing out on that podium.
So just to clarify, which rider's 2 seconds ahead, Valve or Hurd?
It's Valve who's just 2 seconds ahead. So, it's all to play for there, and we'll have to see whether Hurd can bring out that gap even further.
All right, well, Robert McEwen just came over the top of the KOM here, and the gap to Howell Davies is hovering around 15, 16 seconds. So we'll see if he can, obviously we talked about no super tucking earlier, but we'll see if he can make a good push on the way down and catch up to Robert McEwen here. And then after that, we got to jump back in with our B race because we got to see what they're doing as well. But we're approaching the finish to our A race here, so I want to catch that. And right now, it looks like Robert McEwen is dominating. He's still pushing about 1-2 watts per kilograms higher than Howell Davies, although Howell just jumped up to 7 watts per kilograms there for a minute. So it'll just be interesting to see. I think it might slinky a little on this downhill here with Howell bringing it back a little, then losing a little. And we'll just have to see if Howell has enough time to bring that gap back completely. And in my opinion, he doesn't, but you never know. Oh, just got a message in the chat. Henry Bottom's SDW youth had a blackout, and that's a real shame for our SDW youth. They've had a lot of bad luck in this series. Ollie Fussell had a dropout. One of the first few races, he was up there in the GC and then got dropped back towards last position. I think it might have even been Henry who won stage 4 and then realized he was having problems with his power readings and had to accept a DQ. So now Henry Bottom's having a dropout. Really bad luck for the SDW riders. And we'll just have to see if some of those other riders, Ollie Fussell and Nathan Tully, can get a little bit of a lead on Jimbo, because it's a really close race over there in the D race for first place. Jimbo obviously seems to have the GC locked up. Chris, what's your take on what's happening here on the descent in our A race?
Well, I was actually just following the B race slightly there. I mean, obviously, the thing we said about before was that the descent on this, they are going to have to keep on the pedals. It's not like on a normal ride on Casse Pattes where you might be able to just sit in the wheels and super tuck your way back down to the marina. They're going to have to keep on the power here. And after that tough climb up the Petit KOM, that is going to be difficult. It's going to be burning. So I don't know if we're going to see much more change in the A standings. I say that the real race seems to be for that bronze medal position between Atney Valve and Nick Hurd.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the race we really need to watch. And I don't know where our leading B riders are on the road. I know you said you were in with the Bs. Are we going to have enough time to see the finish of Valve and Herd before we have to jump back with our Bs?
Sure, you'll be able to see that. The B riders that I'm running with are just coming up to the second to last turn on the Petit KOM. So they are hot on the heels of the A riders. A really strong ride here. Currently riding with John Hughes, who's pushing out 480 watts up the Petit KOM, absolutely burning it. But Neil Hodgson, another of our top riders, he's only 1 minute off Ross Hetherington, is just about to take him and push into first place. Now, Ross Hetherington himself is also storming an absolute ride up here and is only 6 seconds off. So I think Ross has probably got this tied up. I don't think that anybody's going to be able to come back from that, about 30-second lead that he had over the rest of the rides. And here they go over the top of the Petit through the banner at 29.46. Ross Hetherington just a little bit behind there. Coming through 29.52, and Derek McIntyre then is 20 seconds off the back there.
All right, I have to interrupt you here real quick because Robert McEwen is just about to hit the finish line in our A race. We see Howell Davies now 21 seconds back. So Robert McEwen will come home with the fastest time in the A race, and I'm predicting Howell will be in second. So congrats to Robert McEwen. Great ride from him. About 22 seconds he made up there on our GC leader, Howell Davies. And as you said before, the real race to watch will be between Valve and Herd. And I think we've got enough time to just watch their finish now before we have to jump in with our B race. As you said, Chris, they just came over the top of the KOM. So I'm in with Nick Herd here. And do you want to just give us a quick recap on how many seconds he needs on Valve to take that spot from him?
So overall, it looks like he needs only about 12 seconds. They were 3:19 off Hal Davies and 3:21. So if he's got more than 12 seconds on him, then I think we're going to see a change in that positioning, and it's going to be Nick Herd moving into the bronze.
Yep, Nick Herd right now has 25 seconds, and he's launching a sprint down into the finish line. So it looks like Nick Herd will be taking over that bronze spot. And I'm just going to get prepared to move back in with our B race here because they will be coming in for the finish very shortly.
An absolute fantastic finish there from Nick Herd, really pushing it all the way across the line. Well done to him. And I'm just trying to find now where Atney is in that whole group. Still a little way off. So I think you may be right there. I think that Atney Valve is going to have been pushed into fourth place, and we're going to see Nick Herd take up that bronze medal position. Riding.
All right, I'm in here with this is Ross Hetherington from the Race 3R squad. For a minute there, we were seeing both A riders and B riders on the leaderboard. That was a little funny, but I think we're back to just B riders here, so I can see the splits a little more clearly. And it looks like Jay Hughes from the Electric Spirit team is 12 seconds off the front, with N. Hodgson from OTR 10 seconds off of Ross Hetherington. That is ahead of Ross Hetherington. So we'll jump in with Hughes here because he'll be our first B rider to finish. And you've been giving us the breakdown on some of the gaps happening here. It looks like the gap from Hetherington to McIntyre is about 20 seconds. And McIntyre needed to be closing. Derek McIntyre needed to be closing on Ross Hetherington to take that lead. So I think Ross Hetherington will be maintaining his top position.
Yeah, so the next race to look at then is Evan Flatter, who was, of course, not that far off of Derek McIntyre.
Oh,
so it'll be interesting to see.
Just a note, Evan Flater let us know in the comments last week it's Flater instead of Flatter.
Oh, sorry. Flater, there we go. Well, he's not too far off, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can make up that gap too. It looks like he was only about 20 seconds behind Derek McIntyre, so can he close that down at all?
Yeah, just have to be watching that race. And
we're going to... McIntyre is leading out, so it looks like it's going to be Ross Hetherington, Derek McIntyre, and then Evan Flater for the 1, 2, 3 in the B race.
And I think I said this before, we are going to get a chance to talk to Evan Flater later on, after he's done with his race, assuming he's up for an interview. Just sorting things out with him earlier this morning. So we'll get to hear from the man himself. And it looks like N. Hodgson was just making a little bit of a push to try and catch Hughes here. but I think it's going to be Jay Hughes to the line. You can see the banner now. He's come around that corner, and Hodgson from OTR is 4 seconds off. So it looks like great finish from Jay Hughes. I'm not sure if it's John, from the OTR squad. And here we are back with Ross Hetherington now. This is going to be your GC leader on the day, maintaining his spot in the number one, unless he has a blackout here in the last few seconds of the race. I think he's got that locked up. We'll jump back with Evan Flater here now. So we're going to have to switch over to our C race soon. Chris, you want to jump in with them real quick and just give us the breakdown on what's happening there?
Yeah, so it looks like the C race is being led out by our GC leader, Patch Harvey. He's done the KOM by the looks of things, and he's already on the way down. But he does have Jamie Watson, who is in third place currently, hot on his heels. Looks like he's just going to take the lead. Then it's Warren Honey, again, one of our GC contenders in fifth place. So I'm just looking for where Jason Feltus is, only 16 seconds off of Watson. So it was a race between, if we were looking at the second place, it was Jason Feltus and then Jamie Watson. There was about a 50-second gap there. So I think that Patch and Jason and Jamie are all going to come in that 1, 2, 3 position, and they've put in a really strong performance to maintain that. David Hill, who was actually leading the race out before, now in fourth place, he really needed to get a march on Jamie Watson, but it looks like Watson has beaten into the punch and has got about 13 seconds on him, so I don't think he's going to make it onto the podium today.
Yep, I just jumped in with our C race now, and we just saw the finish of Evan Flater a couple minutes ago, so good to know that Flater finished up. And now, as you said, I'm in with Patch Harvey, and he does have Jamie Watson there, and these BRT riders are really strong. I talked about this earlier in the stream. I got a chance to race with them, and it was really amazing how fast Patrick Harvey was flying up that KOM, as he does weigh 95 kilograms, I believe. So he had a really fast climb time for a heavier rider, I felt like. And all these BRT riders, they're the BRT Badgers and the ZRL, worked really well together. And I think they took second overall in that ZRL series, their team did. So it's no surprise to see 3 BRT riders up here at the front of our final stage of Veganuary, working together quite nicely. Or not working together, but taking the top 3 spots here.
Definitely. I've just dropped in with the D race just to let you know where they are. So Ollie Fussell is leading this out. So we thought that maybe Jimbo would be the one leading this with his big watts on the flat, but Ollie Fussell seems to have done an absolutely monumental effort, and he is now just on the last few turns of the Petit KOM, pushing 5 watts a kilo. Incredible power from someone so small and so light. Just jumped up there, a bit of a sprint. Incredible power from him. So it looks like he may well take the win on this stage. I don't think that Jimbo's going to catch him now. About a 20-second gap back to him, but I don't think that's going to make much of a dent in Jimbo's lead, but it may well change the standings. And I think maybe Ollie is thinking, can he make his way up into a podium position? We'll have to see. He was 14 minutes shy of Jimbo because of that dropout that he had. So it may be a bit too much for today, but certainly looking like a stage win for him.
All right, well, back in the C race, I just want to note, Warren Honey has caught on to the wheel of Patch Harvey. Obviously no drafting here, but these 2 riders are neck and neck right now, and it'll be interesting to see if we have a sprint between teammates for the win here in the C race. And also, I just want to remind everybody, please subscribe to the Zwift Race Place, and remember to like this video if you enjoyed it. We'll have more live coverage of other races coming up soon. But back to the race here, Warren Honey on Patch Harvey's wheel. I really don't even know what to say. Maybe he'll let Patrick Harvey take the win, but I think if anything, Patrick is already getting that GC win. Maybe he just backs off and lets Warren get the stage win today, but it doesn't seem like that's what's happening. Patrick Harvey pushing right to the line, and he's going to be our winner in the C race here, followed by Warren Honey and Jamie Watson. All right.
I'm sure there's going to be a healthy competition between those 2. I can't imagine that either one of them will be letting anybody win. So I'm sure we'll see a nice big push there for the line.
Yup, and Patrick Harvey did, well, he kept his watts pretty steady, actually. All of them did. It's interesting to see which riders have something left for that sprint at the end. Can be a gauge of how hard they're pushing earlier on. All right, I'm going to jump in with Ollie Fussell now, our D leader on the road, and he's just about, looks like over halfway down the KOM, and he was just in the red numbers over there, pushing well over 5 watts per kilograms on a descent. So Ollie Fussell, really strong riding here from him, and it looks like he's on a standard Zwift TT bike, so no real equipment benefits coming in from Ollie Fussell either. Jimbo now 35 seconds behind him, and looks like Hayton has also fallen behind Fussell. Hayton was leading earlier on from the Art Nuclear squad. He's now about 40 seconds back. So, Chris, do you know how fast Ollie Fussell would have to go to take a podium spot in the GC?
I think he would have to do probably more than an effort than is possible at this point. I think he was about 15 seconds shy, maybe 10 minutes, sorry, 15 minutes, but 10 minutes shy of a podium. So I think that's a bit much of an ask for him. I'm just watching F. Thompson, who is just coming over, not actually in our leaderboard. Ladine Unser just behind him, just done a 38.08. So that's a good time for her. The race was really with Nathan Tully, and he has gone through ahead of her. So I wonder whether we are going to see a change in that second and third position. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I know it all comes down to the wire here, and Ollie Fussell is just about, I think he's going to round this little left-hand turn here, and then he'll be off the KOM, and I mean, Jimbo's still only 38 seconds back. I suppose technically it would be closable before the finish line, but I think Ollie Fussell probably has this one locked up here. And you may have just heard that "bada" sound, and I think that was Discord. That might have been Evan Flater letting me know that he is ready to jump on in the stream. So he says hi. So Evan Flater will be jumping on soon. So Chris, you want to walk us through the finish to the D race here?
I'm just this second, just picking up on the last few through the banner so that I can give us some standings. I think that Henry Bottoms, unfortunately, has had a dropout and so isn't in the race anymore. And let me just do a very quick calculation. I can tell you at the top of the KOM how things were looking. So let me just change my table around. I do apologize. Not very exciting to listen to me use Excel. Here we go. So where we were. So it looks like that actually Nathan Tully has jumped into that silver place position at the top of the KOM, now leading out Andrew Hayton and then Ladine Unser in fourth place. So it'll be really interesting to see if that remains the case when we get to the finish line. Obviously, Ollie Fussell looks like, has he finished now? No, just coming around for that
coming in towards
turn.
The finish.
Yeah, so it looks like his position is not going to change too much in the table. He was quite a way off, but he has jumped up into fifth by my calculation. So that's a big jump up, but still 13.54 off of Jimbo, whose lead was just too much in the end. And look at that sprint from Ollie Fussell there, going up to 10 watts a kilo. Incredible power there just around that corner. Looks like perhaps it was a bit much. He's dropped back down to 4.8. Fantastic riding for Ollie all the way through this season, it has to be said. Jimbo then coming in second. And look at this. Hayton has caught Jimbo and is dragging him back. Or was it the other way around? Because Jimbo caught Hayton? I'm not entirely sure anymore. But looks like they're going to come in around the same time on the final straight.
Yep.
In fact, it is Andrew that's caught Jimbo by a couple of seconds to come in at the same time.
Yeah, we're just watching that now, and it looks like Jimbo's about to finish up. And then I'm going to see if I can jump back in with Ladine Unser after...
Well, the big news, I think, is going to be Nathan Tully, who has done an absolutely incredible ride here and looks like he may well have put himself into the silver medal position.
Yep. Congrats, Nathan. He's just finishing up here with a little sprint to the line. And then I'm going to see if I can get Evan Flater in on the stream. We can ask him a couple questions. Congrats to Nathan. He just finished up there. So I'm going to let Evan Flater know that we're ready for him. He should be with us shortly. So I know you said Nathan Tully jumping up into the silver medal spot in the D race. Do we have any ideas about the bronze medal spot, or will we have to wait for the finish of Ladine Unser?
Do you think that that's going to be Andrew Hayton? I think he's managed to do enough. At the beginning of the day, let's just go back and have a look at what the standings were. It was Jimbo, Ladine, and Nathan Tully, and then Andrew in fourth place. And Ladine had almost 50 seconds on him. And I think that Andrew has ridden an absolute storm of a race here, and he's put himself into third place. Certainly, Nathan Tully has jumped up into second.
Yep, and I think we have Evan Fleeter in with us. Evan, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. All right, that is great. So I think we're just gonna ask you a couple questions about how your race went, because it was you had a great performance out there. I think we determined that you took third place overall. Is that right, Chris? In the GC?
Yeah, I think so. The GC, I'm going to have to just wait and see. I don't want to promise you anything at the moment, Evan, because with the Veganuary elves, we'll have to crunch the numbers when they've all come in from Zwift Power to finalise everything. But a fantastic ride there. Can you tell us what was your strategy on this course in terms of the flats and the uphill?
I tried to go a little bit over on the aqueduct and the Casse Pattes, or whatever the hill is called, and a little bit under on the flats. So I'm on the cobbles, if you can hear them.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like that sort of strategy is what we were talking about there, Cade, going a little bit under threshold maybe on the flatter sections and then really pushing harder where it gets harder on the Petit KOM. And it looks like it has paid off for you, Evan.
Yeah, I think it went well. People went out very strong, and I was surprised by that, but maybe it's a psychological game for them, because I think I started maybe 20th in the first 5 minutes and then made my way up to around 10th towards for the finish.
That mass start can be a bit of a worry, because you see your competition flying off up the road and you have to then think, do I stick to the game plan or do I chase? But it looks like you stuck to the game plan. Is that right?
I did, and I had a lot of fun, and I want to thank you, Chris and Cade, and the vegan organizers as well.
Well, you're quite welcome. I hope you've enjoyed the series, and it's been great watching you and following the battles that have gone on in each of the categories.
Oh, definitely, yeah, and thanks to my sprint competition companions. Neil, my teammate, and I had a virtual ceremony on Discord last week, and congrats to Daniel on third.
Yep, congrats to all our winners, actually. All our podium riders, GC, sprint competitions, polka dot jerseys, everybody, and really congrats to everybody for making it through the series. And just back to what you said before, Evan, kind of about riding your own race, I think really the riders that focused on hitting their targets and their goals were the ones that did quite well today. Trying to race the other riders out there, it's just not the style of a time trial, so I think the riders that really focused on riding their own race did the best today, and we can see that reflected in the results, which we'll have in the next couple of days. But so Evan, I just have a couple of questions for you. What did you find was the most challenging part on the course to hold your watts and keep it rolling?
Ooh, I think recovering after doing that push on the two hills, trying to keep, the watts still on is definitely hard. That'd be the hardest part.
Yeah, I know. Recovery is something that can be tough to find in a time trial. And then I think I have to ask this because it's Veganuary. Have you been going for a vegan January?
I've been doing about 80% vegetarian. Sometimes some eggs and cheese get in there, unfortunately. But the majority of my days are vegetarian with my wife and I.
All right. Well, congrats on your finish. It's been really fun watching you and all the races playing out in the B category. I don't know if you have any more questions, Chris?
No, I was just going to say, congrats on the racing and on your vegetarian diet. Obviously, it's about those little choices. I always think, and you don't need to be fanatical about things. It's about the little choices you make day by day. So it sounds like you're on on a road that everyone would no doubt praise anyway. So thanks a lot, Evan, for joining us.
For sure. Oh, one quick plug for a Canadian vegan cookbook is Oh She Glows, or Oh We Glow, as we like to say. Anyways, check it out, Oh She Glows, and there's 2 of them, I think. Good.
Thanks. We'll maybe link that in the on the YouTube. Just pop in a link there, then people can check that out. That'd be really great.
Yep, just over in the live chat, and then we can get that and maybe link it in the description as well. All right. Well, I think
I don't know whether you wanted to go through a few more of these shout outs that we had.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Evan. Sorry, I should have said bye there. We did have quite a few riders. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to go through too many of them because there was just so much going on in the ITT. But we had quite a few people send in some points of interest we were going to focus on. One of them, Ollie Fussell, just pick out 1 or 2 things here. Obviously did very, very well throughout that whole series, and we did focus on him quite a lot. He hasn't... what's he say? He hasn't been doing Veganuary, but he enjoys his food. One of the questions I asked everybody when I sent out the message was whether they were doing dry January. Ollie, with showing a sense of humour, says, "I'm 8 years old. I don't even drink fizzy drinks." So great response there from Ollie. If we look through a couple of the other people, I'll just pick out 1 or 2 if I can.
And I just want to make a note about Ollie. The Zwift Race Place has actually been doing a video with him and a couple of the other SDW junior riders about Zwift from a junior's point of view. So that'll be coming out this weekend, actually. We did an interview with some of those SDW riders, so stay tuned for that as well. Go ahead, Chris.
So another rider give a shout out to is Mary Dootson, who is riding in Cat C for Race 3R. She's been riding since July 2020 on Zwift after getting a little bit of an injury whilst training for Manchester Marathon, and switched over, got hooked on Zwift racing and decided to race with Race 3R. She's now taking part in the ZRL and the team time trial each week. I asked if she was enjoying Veganuary. She says yes, except her fiance is one of the organisers and spends all weekend ignoring her and looking at Excel spreadsheets. Well, hopefully that's going to end soon, Mary, and you can get your fiance back at the weekend. I wonder if we can just check in with anybody else. I'm just looking through some of them. I can't look at all of them, unfortunately. But we've got Carl Kristic, one of the Team Vegan Barracudas. Thanks, everybody, for the race series. And certainly, I have to say, actually, Kate, just while I'm saying thanks for the race series, that there's been a huge thanks to you and to the Zwift Race Place for the coverage that's been taking place. It's really helped to make the event a success. But going back to Carl, he says he started cycling initially for commuting, joined local triathlon club, and was doing half Ironman events, found success with duathlon with a couple of victories at local events. So great job there, Carl. And then finally, Alan Hugill, who we lost in this race. We're not sure whether he took part. We'll have to see whether he was in the other race and whether he's gotten a result. But just looking at what he says, he's not a vegan, but has introduced a number of meat-free days. Olive and tomato spaghetti is great. Well, that sounds nice to me. Maybe I'll make that up one night this week. But, it's all about those little choices. And a lot of people now choosing to cut a bit of meat out of their diets, not completely, but just moving towards more plant-based. And that's a positive choice that we'd always support. What he's enjoyed about the Veganuary series, great coverage. Again, they're big bonus points for you there, Cade. And just saying how great it is to have the Zwift Race Place involved. So perhaps I'll leave it there. We did have a couple more shout outs that perhaps I can circulate some of the responses we got with the results. A slightly easier one to calculate today as it's just on finish time. So I do hope that the Veganuary elves can get that result out sooner rather than later, hopefully by no later than tomorrow.
Yep, and I also just want to mention, Evan got us that link to the cookbook he recommended in Discord. So I left a link to that in the live chat as well. And I'll get that up in the description later on today for any of you who are interested in that. And I also just wanted to say a thank you to everybody at Team Vegan for helping me out with this and getting me involved, because it's been really fun. And then also thank you to you, Chris, for helping me out doing our co-hosting with me. And it's been really great. It's been a great thing to do on a Saturday morning.
I hope you have me on again for a bit of co-hosting. You might notice that I do enjoy the sound of my own voice, so hopefully other people enjoy it even half as much as I do. Then it won't have been too bad for the coverage. Thanks, Cade.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our live coverage of Veganuary Stage 5, and in itself, the entire Veganuary series. Once again, congrats to all of our riders, and we'll sign off for now, but I'm sure we'll be back with a new race series soon. Please remember to subscribe to the Zwift Race Place and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for